This episode is sponsored by Incogn. Today I'm on a mission to rediscover something that's been lost to my family for decades. In fact, my grandfather is the only one who knows of its whereabouts, although he's been unable to return there to confirm it. To illustrate what I'm talking about, here's a map of the area, lovingly drawn by Mrs. Outsider. Near the center of the map lies the cabin, along with a solar array and boulder foundation, which I recently put in for the sauna build. To the south lies an impassable cedar swamp. The only way to reach the cabin is to skirt the swamp to the east, ultimately arriving from the north, more or less. My grandfather told me that he once discovered a land bridge through the swamp where the ground was solid enough and dry enough to traverse with his tractor. Now, if only I could find this shortcut, then traveling to and from the cabin would be more direct. At the very least, it would provide a viable second route through the area. Unfortunately, it's been decades since my grandfather last traveled the length of this passage, and although some of it remains, most of it has been reclaimed by the forest. Over the years, I tried to pick the trail up again, but only found more swamp past the dead end. I've even searched the south side for where the trail's exit may have been, but no luck there either. Any machine that ventures here would be swallowed up in short order by the cedar slough. Maybe that's what happened to the trail. Maybe it's destined to be a dead end. Either way, I'll be taking the old Massey down that way again today, mainly to harvest a batch of cedars for the sauna build, but also to take one last shot at rediscovering the fabled land bridge through the cedar swamp. In such a dense stand, it's rare to have enough space to fell a tree all the way to the ground in one shot. The rest would have to be helped down by the Massey. I'd like to take a moment to thank Incogn for sponsoring this episode. Are you tired of spam calls, texts, and emails that you've been receiving lately? In a nutshell, your personal information is being sold or published online without you even knowing about it, and robocallers aren't the only ones who will purchase your information. Businesses, scammers, and cybercriminals will too. The good news is that you have the right to protect your privacy and request that data brokers delete the information they hold about you. The bad news is that it would take you years to do it manually, just once. And you need to repeat the process every few months, as data brokers continue collecting your data and creating new records. This is where Incogn comes in. Just create an account, give them permission to act on your behalf, and Incogn will go after the data brokers for you, filing the requests, pushing through the rejections, and keeping you updated every step of the way. And now their unlimited and family unlimited plans include custom removals, so if you find some random website with your information on it by yourself, you can submit it to Incogn and they'll make sure it gets deleted. Because privacy shouldn't be a setting, it's your right. Take back your personal data with Incogn. Use code THEOUTSIDER at the link below and get 60% off an annual plan. After dropping my first batch of cedars for the day, I took a short lunch break on the trail. Eastern white cedar has many uses, not only for building, but also for nourishment. The leaves have been brewed into a medicinal tea for hundreds, maybe even thousands of years by the Anishinaabe peoples of Canada. Cedar tea is rich in vitamin C, so it's excellent for warding off those pesky colds, which I just so happen to have. I've been drinking cedar tea for as long as I can remember. Being tied to the surrounding forest I was raised in, cedar tea invokes feelings of nostalgia, comfort, and a sense of home for me. After turning the tractor around and heading back to the main cabin, I stopped at the trail cam on my way by. The first recording I saw was of a pregnant doe passing through in the night. I wondered if she was able to find a safe place to deliver her fawn. Well, I didn't have to wonder long, because just over a week later, she passed through again, this time with her precious fawn. It did my heart good to see them both alive and well. I decided to take the trail cam with me back to the cabin so that I could review the rest of the footage later. It was then that I discovered a heartbreaking twist to their story. More on that later. After debarking the first batch of cedars for the sauna build, I returned the following day to scout the old trail once again, not for cedars this time, but for a way through. On my way down to the dead end, I made an unexpected discovery. Not the one I was looking for, mind you, but a welcome one nonetheless. This is the biggest eastern white cedar I've ever seen. With a circumference of over 7.5 feet, it must be one of the oldest living things in this tract of woodland. After admiring the old cedar, I left it to grow in peace. Finally, I reached the dead end. As I sat there contemplating, I had an inclination to explore to the right, which is something I'd never done before, because I knew this direction only led into more swamp. Although it felt like a waste of time, I decided to try this new direction, just for 100 feet or so, then I'd come right back. Otherwise, it'd be all too easy to become as lost as the trail I was trying to find. To my surprise, it appeared that this could in fact be the continuation of the old trail, albeit a little overgrown, as expected. Then, to my amazement, I spotted something, a structure, right there, through the tangle of branches. It was my solar array. This was the last place I expected the trail to lead. Little had I known, the forgotten trail had been gradually turning me north, where it emerged, of all places, at the cabin site. I raced back to where I left the tractor, getting turned around a couple times in the process, but eventually making it back to the Massey. I spent the rest of the morning reblazing the old trail back to the cabin. Maybe I misunderstood my grandfather from the beginning. Maybe this is what he meant when he said that the old trail used to cut through the swamp. I figured he was saying that it emerged on the south side, and who knows, maybe an offshoot of it still does. Maybe this old trail still holds a few secrets, still yet to be discovered. In the meantime, I'm just happy to have finally put a decades-old mystery to rest.
Well, I'd say that was a pretty exciting day, at least for me. It was really cool to be able to find that old trail again, to locate that old land bridge through the swamp. Now, the thing is, I didn't even know exactly where it was. I figured it was down that dead end trail, but I wasn't 100% sure. Because as I was talking with my grandfather, he was a little vague on exactly where the trail was, and so I just assumed it was maybe down that dead end trail. So for years, off and on, I had gone down there and I tried to scout a way through. But the problem was that I would often continue going straight because that trail goes straight down towards the swamp and then it just ends. So I figured that the old trail probably kept going straight, but since it had been abandoned, it grew in and disappeared. But as soon as I went 10 or 15 feet past that dead end, I was just into swamp immediately. And I explored to the left. It was the same thing. It was just nothing but swamp. And I thought I explored a bit to the right, but obviously not well enough. Because again, as I was talking with my grandfather, it seemed as though he said that the trail came out on the southern side of the swamp. So I never expected it to go north or to go to the right. And it might still come out somewhere on the south. Now that I've cut this new section or reopened this section, maybe there's an offshoot that goes to the southern part of the swamp. Maybe there's a land bridge that goes there as well. I'm not sure. But at this point, I'm just so excited to have finally found a way through to the cabin. It's just nice to have that second route for many different reasons. But I think I'm going to keep the southern trail or the old trail as mostly a footpath or as a trail that I maybe just take the four-wheeler on because I don't want to take the tractor down there very often. There are some areas along that trail that are a little bit soft, and I can see why my grandfather went straight down and stopped when he hit the swamp, and he realized he couldn't go any further. And so that's why he went to the right and ultimately curved up to where the cabin now is. Now, the cabin wasn't around when he made the trail, but it just happened to be that I built the cabin here, and that's where the old trail curves up to. So yeah, in the summertime, it'll be just a footpath or for the four-wheeler, but in the wintertime, it's going to be a perfect winter road for the snowmobile, for the snowcat, or just snowshoeing. Anyway, I wanted to talk as well about the trail cam footage. I brought the trail cam back to the cabin and I was flipping through the rest of the footage. I saw another shot, this time with a coy wolf carrying what looked like the fawn back through. Now I know that nature works that way, that coy wolves need to eat as well. They need to feed their families. So I understand that it's all a part of life, but I still have a soft place in my heart for poor defenseless animals, and it would have been nice to see that fawn live a full life before it died. But unfortunately, fawns are easy pickings for the coy wolves and wolves around here, so they're usually the first to go. Now, there is a silver lining to this story, because as I was looking at the timestamp of when this coy wolf carried the fawn through, I realized that it was before this pregnant doe came through, and then later again with her fawn. So at least the doe and fawn that we saw are still alive and well. At least I think. At least I hope so. I'd say every year I see at least one fawn around the cabin, and that's good news. It means that the does feel that this is a safe enough area to bring them, to raise them. Unfortunately, it's not the safest all the time. obviously because this coy wolf got another fawn in the same area. Now, I think this is the same coy wolf that I saw a week earlier. I came across him in a clearing, and he was a pretty good size, and he was really nice and healthy. So he's a good hunter, and he continues to be a good hunter, obviously, by getting this other fawn just very recently. So I think what I'm going to do is when I go to Bass Pro next time, I'm going to pick up another couple of those trail cams and set them up in different parts of the property, just so I can get a better feel of what animals are moving through the area. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm going to continue logging the rest of the logs for the sauna build, and I'll get those stacked in a seasoning pile. And when I have enough, I can begin building the walls of the sauna. So I'm really excited for that as well. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, my friends, stay safe, be well, and God bless.